Hi everyone, my name is Phil and welcome to Phil Does 3D. I'm a multimedia and 3D artist and I stream on Twitch weekdays from 5 PM Pacific time in the US, 10 AM in Australia and 1 AM in the UK. So we are working on an Art Deco building interior and exterior that we're going to create in the Unreal Engine 4.15.1. What we're doing at the moment is I'm updating the assets because I made this building back in 2011 using the UDK. I want to recreate it now using the new Unreal Engine 4. And I thought, considering we're going to be completely recreating it, we may as well update the assets and change some of the textures because I was not completely happy with the original textures I made. And we can update some of the assets to make them a little bit higher polygon. Because graphics cards are better, the computers have more memory, graphics cards have more memory, so we can afford to make our assets look a little bit nicer. And so that's what we're going to be doing and what we have been doing. This is the Art Deco building that we're going to be taking into Unreal eventually. What we're doing though is I've laid out all my interior assets here in a row so that we don't forget anything. And as we work on them, I'm exporting them into the Unreal Engine. That's what we were doing yesterday. This is that railing section that separates the top floor from the bottom floor. And yesterday we were working on this door section, one of the side doors for the building. Now the only change I made between yesterday's stream and now is I did go back into Max and I separated the stained glass window sections here on the side. Remember yesterday I was saying if you want to destroy this glass by say shooting bullets through it, you don't want to have that glass attached to the frame. Yesterday I said, I'm not going to worry about it because I'm going to be doing a cinematic fly through, but I've since changed my mind because I wanted to add opacity to that to the stained glass itself, and having it as one object I couldn't do that. So what I did was I went back into Max, separated the stained glass from the door frame and re-imported it into Unreal. So now, as you can see, if I zoom in a bit here, you can see the background there through the stained glass, just a little. I mean, the glass is smoked, so you're not going to get a clear view through. But I did want a little bit of opacity so we could see it was glass, see what was behind it. And that'll also help, like I said, if we do want to smash the windows. This way the glass will break, but the wooden frame won't break. Because if this was one object, and you shot a bullet through the glass and it shattered, you're going to end up taking out part of the frame, and that's just not natural. So having the glass as a separate object means it'll break in a more realistic way, if we do want to do that. So that's what I did yesterday. Apart from that, that's the only change I made. All I did was create opacity for the stained glass. So today we're going to keep working on our assets. And do remember guys, if you have any questions for me, please feel free to pop into chat and ask me. I've been working in 3D for more than 10 years. I work as an art-viz artist at the moment, but I've worked for games companies in the past, and I've also worked in cinema and for film. So if you do have a question, please do feel free to pop into chat and ask me. If you just want to pop in and say hello, that's cool, into chat. If you just want to watch though, that's completely fine as well. So we have to decide on the next asset we're going to bring into the engine. So we did the light as well. We created our Art Deco ceiling light fitting here. And again, we just added some geometry to the original light fitting because the original light fitting was just a plain texture, and I wanted to add a bit more interest to the model. So we did some substance painting yesterday on these geometry pieces. And that's to better match the Art Deco sconces that we're going to be putting on the side walls. The sconces are going to be sitting on these wooden panels that we created. So let's finish these door sections off. We have a mesh for the side doors, but we have a different mesh for the front and back doors. So if you look at our building here, We have doors all the way around it actually. There's one at the front, one at the back, and one on either side. Right? And the ones on the side are going to be different from the ones that we're going to have on the front and the back. I wanted the ones at the front and the back to be a little bit more, have a different look to them. I didn't want all the doors to look the same. So we're keeping the actual door itself the same, but we're changing the stained glass that goes on the sides of the building for the new door section. So let's finish that off now. We'll get this door done. So I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to select the second door here. I'm going to go into isolate, so tools and isolate selection. That just makes it easy for me to work on without having the rest of the mesh in the file in the way. Now we did texture up our door handles yesterday and I haven't transferred them over to this one, so we'll do that. I'm just quickly going to go out of isolation mode. We'll zoom in here on the door that we were working on yesterday. I'm going to select the door and go into sub-object mode so I can select that door handle. Make sure I get all the pieces I need. And I think we've got them all, so that's okay. I don't want to remove it from this asset, so I'm going to detach it, but I'm going to detach as a clone. And that way I can select my cloned door handle. And rotate around a little bit. I'm going to hold down the control key and select the door I want to work on, and I'm going to go back into isolation mode. Alright, let's move our door handle over a bit here. Just going to find it in my viewport. Right, you see that our axes are not aligned to the actual handle, and that's because we detached it from another piece of geometry. I'm going to go into my hierarchy tab, I go effect pivot, and I'm just going to center my axes to the handle itself. Makes it easy for me to move around. And we're also going to move it forward in front of the door. And we're going to line it up here so it is in line with the old door handle. I'm going to call this one new handle, just so I know what it is when I'm selecting the old one. So I'm going to select the old handle in the background here. I'm going to delete it. Jump back into my top viewport. I'm just going to go full screen here. I'm also going to just rotate this door around a little bit by selecting everything. I've noticed it's a little bit off. Going to make sure angle snap is turned off. Okay, now we're going to select our handle and shift drag a copy. Make sure it's a copy, not an instance. We'll go into our mirror tool. I'm going to mirror it in the Y direction. We'll just pull it in a bit. Now I'm going to jump back into my orthographic and line it up with the old handle here. We're going to select the old handle and we're going to delete it. Now the texture looks a little strange here because we're using a substance physically based material, and it requires a reflection, and there is no reflection happening, no reflection map happening in Max's viewport, and that's why it looks a little strange. But when we get it into the Unreal Engine, it should look okay. When we get it into Unreal and start setting up the environment, that is, so it has something to reflect. So our handles have been placed. Now, I could do the same thing here and separate these stained glass sections to give them some transparency. But this glass is actually quite thick compared to the original door glass here. So you're really not going to get much, you're not going to see through it much anyway, even in real life. So I won't do that for this one. I'll just keep this as one object, apart from the door. The door will be a separate object so we can open and close it. So at the moment you see it's grouped, so I'm going to, not grouped, okay. I'm going to go into sub-object mode. I'm going to select all of our door pieces. I'm not going to include the handle just yet because it's a separate object anyway. We'll go into face mode and deselect, I thought you were going to do that. Alright. Alright, so we have, we're going to have to split the mesh here, I think, so that we can separate the door from the rest of the model. It looks like. Okay, let's do that, shall we? I'm just wondering whether it might be easier for us to try and... No, we'll do this one. I was going to say we could use the first door we created because we already created a frame for it, and replace these side sections, but the frame is slightly different on this door anyway, and the side sections are wider, so we'll work with the mesh we've got. I'm going to go into my front viewport. Let's full screen that so we get a better view. Now I'm going to split my mesh. I'm just looking at the texture here so I can get an idea of where I want to split it. And I'm going to split it there, and I'm going to split it there. Actually, I'm going to split there and there. Just got to make sure I don't split in the wrong spot. I'm going to go into quick slice mode. I'm going to start by splitting it along the top. Now I'm going to split it down the front here. We'll start on this side because this one's easier for me to see what is going on. I'll start at the bottom and go and work my way out. And now for this side, I think I'll split it along here. Yeah, I'll split it from this side just here. Okay, let's go back into sub-object mode. Well, why are you doing that? I'm just going to go back into my orthographic and have a look at this. Make sure I get all of my faces in my selection. Okay, see what's going on here. That's okay. We don't have a back section to this door, and that's what's throwing me off here as far as the look of it goes. We'll take care of that in just a minute. And there are a couple of faces up here I still need to select. Looks like a couple on the side also I need to select. Now I'm just making sure I do have everything selected before I do my detach. I think we're good. Looks like there might be one over here in this corner. I must make sure I get that one too. There we go. Alright. We should be good to do our detach now, so let's detach this object. We don't want it as a clone though, so turn that off. Let's go back into sub-object mode. Now these three pieces are one object. Again, like I said, if we wanted to add transparency or opacity to this, we would save these out as a separate object, rebuild it in Unreal and create a blueprint prefab. But we're not going to do that here. We did that with this door. We created a blueprint prefab so that we can easily drag it into the level when we start building the building and place it. But for this one we won't. We'll still create a prefab because we need to include the door as a separate object. Alright, now I do need to make sure I remove the top run along here. I don't want that as part of the door, so... And again, I'm going to deselect just so I can see what I'm doing. It looks like these two here, not in sub-object mode, in face mode, including that little corner piece. Again, we're going to swing around the model to make sure we have everything we need. Include that corner. Include that corner. And now I'm going to detach that piece because I don't want that as part of the door. I'm going to attach that piece we just detached as part of the frame. It looks like if you see these two small blue outline sections here, that little one there and that little one there, that's happened because when I detached my door, I must have not selected those faces. They're still part of the frame. So I'm going to go into face mode here. And we're going to try and select them. I'm going to turn off ignore back facing here. Get an idea of where they are. Okay. So now we have those two selected. Again, I'm going to run around the back to make sure we have everything we need selected. And we're going to detach them. I'm just going to pull out my layer manager here. Find my objects, those two there that we just detached, and I'm going to attach those to the door because they should have been part of the door to begin with. Okay, so now when we select our outer frame, we don't have any of those smaller pieces selected in the middle. Alright, now I do want to detach the stained glass from the middle of the door from the two side panels. Again, I'm going to make sure I have it all selected, and I do. We're just going to detach that piece as well. And I'm going to attach the two side pieces to the rest of the door frame. So I'm going to select the door frame and attach those stained glass side pieces. So now that's all part of just one mesh. And the door, I'm going to attach that center stained glass piece. And I'm also going to attach the two door handles. But before I do that, because I've noticed that we don't have a back to this door, it's just like an empty shell. We're going to have to the easiest way to fix that, I think, is going to be to select our handle on the inside. I'm going to move that out for the moment. So temporarily we'll move it back here. We're going to select all of our door, not the handle though, at the front. I'm going to jump into my top viewport. I'm going to shift drag a copy. Again, I'm going to mirror it in the Y direction. Now, I'm going to, do I want to scale it in? No. We're going to overlap those two pieces of geometry and attach them together. Now remember that the top edge here, it's not, I haven't UV mapped that because that's going to be actually sitting inside of the door frame. You're never going to see these sides or the top of this frame because the walls, the brick walls of the building are butting right up against it. But before we do our attach, I'm going to jump back into my orthographic here and check that everything looks right. As far as the frame goes, that will be fine. Again, I'm just double checking. So we're going to select the front frame and we're going to attach the back frame. Now the door though, I don't want the door to be that thick. I don't want it to be as thick as the frame. So what I'm going to have to do here is select the door, the two door halves. Again, I'm going to go into isolation mode. So I just keep isolating all the way down until I'm just left with the geometry that I want to work on. And we're going to move these doors in closer together. Yeah. Before I do that though, I'm going to remove the polygons from the base of one of the doors here at the back. just by deleting them. And for this back section of the door, I'm going to go back into my hierarchy tab and center my pivot so it's easier for me to move. I'm going to move it in until it's in line with that base wooden piece here at the bottom. Just jumping into my left side view here. So I can get myself into a better angle so I can see exactly whether that's lined up correctly. Okay, as far as width goes, that should be good for what we want, I think. Alright, so now we're going to select the front part of that door and I'm going to attach the back section. So we have one object. I'm actually looking at this and I think the door is still probably too wide. I have a feeling the door width should only be about the width of the front here, not that thick. Trying to push open a door that's that thick would really be a pain, so I'm just going to undo that so we undid the attach that we just did. And I'm going to select that back copy we just made, go into face mode and jump into my top viewport. Oh, I see. I was going to remove this back face. That back face is actually the back of the actual door here, because this door has raised sections of actual mesh to give it more depth. So I can't actually remove these back faces. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go out of polygon mode there. Again, we're going to jump into our top viewport. And I'm going to move, stop doing that. That's the one I want. Back in my top viewport. I'm going to move that in until those two halves merge. And again, I'm going to, won't I? Yeah, I will. I'm going to select the front part of the door, and this bottom of the door is actually too wide now, so we're going to jump into vertex mode. Back in my top viewport, and we're going to pull them in. Actually, what we're going to do is, because I want to redo these sides of this frame anyway, I'm going to remove the polys from that base section. And we will remake them, I think. I think that's the best way to go. Yep. So I'm just going to delete those. Now we can attach our two pieces together. So out of polygon mode, make sure I have the front part of the door selected, and I'm going to attach the back part of the door. Right, now we're good. Now we're going to have to create a frame for the actual door itself, because as you can see, we can see through the top of the door. I think the best way to do that will be because I want to make sure that the door is UV mapped correctly, because when you open it you will see the sides. And at the moment the UV mapping for the sides is not correct. You can see it's stretching, so what we're going to do to fix that, there's a few ways we can do it, but we'll do it this way, I think. I'm going to jump into my front viewport, go back into my creation tab. I'm going to create a box, and I'm going to make the box about the same size as the actual door itself. So, hey John, oh, you improved the D? Yeah, sure, let's have a look. Good to see you. John was working on a demon model that he was texturing up the modeling in ZBrush and texturing up in Zebra. So let's have a look here. Cool. That is so creepy, dude. That is really creepy. Looks very cool though. Very cool. We've got your demon ribs happening here, yeah, no? And then these scales, the green scales, they're looking cool. You've got this textured up really quickly. I'm impressed. I'll go down, yep. We'll have a look at them one by one. Oh, that looks really cool. So we're getting a nice view of all around the model here. And that looks cool. Very nice. Oh good, we've got a bit closer view here. That's looking really nice. I like the texturing you've done here on the rib. That looks really good. Okay, I like that you've added two different colored green here. I can see that you've added a darker shade of green to the scales as well as the lighter shade, which is good. Well done. And the the face. Man. It looks really good, and very creepy. Like I said yesterday, it's one of the creepiest models I think I've ever seen. Just freaky. It's really freaky. John was saying he had a dream where this thing was chasing him, and if I had a dream with this thing chasing me, I wouldn't sleep for a week. It's looking great. And like I said, you did the texturing work very quickly, which is great. Something if you're working for any studio that they always appreciate is if you can get your texturing done quickly. But it's looking very nice. And remember guys, this is a model that's in ZBrush's viewport, so the lighting in ZBrush's viewport, while it's good enough to sculpt with, it's not the same as taking the model into a rendering program and rendering it out. Because then you'll get proper shadowing and stuff happening. But no, it's looking great. Freaky but great. Nice work. And thanks for sharing it. John's asking if I wanted to add wings to how would you do that, or should you leave it as it is? You can add objects in ZBrush. You can load in a separate object in ZBrush and add it to your model that way. If you're only working in ZBrush, you could download Blender, a 3D program, and you could do it in Blender as well. You could add the two model pieces together there. And should you add wings? I like wings. I do a lot of angel statues, and I do that because I like the wings on them. So I'm always going to vote for wings. But it's pretty creepy as it is. Probably adding wings wouldn't make it more creepy than it is now. I don't think anything could. But wings could look cool. Yeah. And like I said, you can load in another object in ZBrush and add it to your model that way. Or install Blender, which is free, and do it in the 3D program in Blender. I know a lot of ZBrush artists like to work just in ZBrush, which is fine. Personally myself, I like to have more control, so I like to work in a 3D program. So I'll use ZBrush to sculpt up parts of my model or different sections of my model, and then I'll put it all together in 3D Studio Max. No problem. Thank you for sharing your images too with everyone. I appreciate it. Like I said, guys, I love it when you show me your work. No matter what that work is, it can be a creepy thing like this that John is showing me, or it can be anything really. Because I'm on Twitch to interact with you guys and to encourage you guys to do 3D. And I love looking at the stuff you're making. It makes me happy to see guys enjoying themselves when they're creating their 3D model. Because that's what it's all about. It's all about having fun when you're making 3D stuff or rendering out 3D stuff. So it looks great, John. Thanks for sharing. And yeah, wings could look cool for sure. Let's get this door done, I think. So we're in our box mode here. I'm going to create a box that takes up most of the size of the door. Like that. I'm going to jump into my top viewport because I'm going to have to move that box into position. It's probably too far back, I'd say. Yeah.